Hi, I'm Jeff Walters, and welcome to The Minutes. And thanks for listening today. It's great to have you along on The Minutes for the week of December the 9th, 2024. This is a City of Thunder Bay podcast. The Minutes takes a look at what happened at Thunder Bay City Council this past week. You can find The Minutes wherever you get your podcasts, including our YouTube channel and our website, thunderbay.ca/The Minutes. If you want to keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening at City Hall, just hit that subscribe button. On this episode, we'll have a rundown of what happened at this week's City Council meeting and an interview with Jonathan Paske, the Supervisor of Municipal Parking Services in Thunder Bay. We'll talk about a discussion at Council last night on paid parking in just a few minutes. But first, Council approved the 2025 Interim Tax Levy on Monday night. The annual approval allows the City to bill property owners half of the 2024 taxes due in March and May. The approval allows for taxes to be billed before the 2025 tax rate is finalized early in the new year. There are 43,100 taxable properties in the city, which generates about $130 million in revenue. Administration estimates it will generate about $3.15 million in interest charges next year using a late payment rate of 1.25%. The city has historically allowed taxes to be paid over 4 installments throughout the year. This reduces the city's cost of borrowing or increases the city's interest income, allows for easier budgeting for property owners, provides steady cash flow, and allows for payments to happen earlier in the year. Council approved some changes to the funding of a plug-in station at Thunder Bay Transit for electric vehicles. Natural Resources Canada awarded the Community Economic Development Commission's Plug-in Thunder Bay Fund about $4,300 as part of the 2023 project to have 2 electric pickups at the transit garage. The CEDC told the city about the funding in September of this year. For budget reasons, the money is allocated to the 2023 capital budget, as the budget was approved before this funding was made available. City Council repealed a bylaw at the request of the Planning Department. In 2023, a bylaw was passed for a property on John Street Road, which was granted a plan for condominium. In the bylaw, there was an error with the legal property description. An updated bylaw was presented and approved at Council. The Canada Post strike continues to have an impact on how the city is able to bill you for your water account. If you live in Current River, Woodcrest, a rural area, Grandview, or Red River, and you were supposed to submit your water meter reading in October, your bill hasn't been delivered yet. Bills will be mailed out as soon as Canada Post resumes operations. Now, don't worry about the due date of December the 13th on that bill. The city will extend the due date, and it will be announced in the near future. If you're on a monthly payment plan or pre-authorized payment plan, the amounts will be taken out in the future as well. If you have any questions about your water bill, call the Revenue Office at 807-625-2255 or visit thunderbay.ca/water. Council heard how 2 reports from administration are delayed. The first is the cemetery bylaw, which was slated to be presented at Council next week. The report will be brought back in February of next year. Administration says there are workload and capacity issues due to changes in the central support and growth departments. Another report on outdoor rinks will also be delayed until March of 2025. In June, Council voted for administration to look into alternative options for outdoor rinks. That includes synthetic ice, refrigeration systems, outdoor rink hubs, covered rinks, and concrete pads, all of which ways are to expand the skating season or improve the outdoor skating season to make it more resilient to climate change. The report was originally to come to Council on December the 16th, but administration says workload and capacity issues in the Parks Planning section will cause the report to be delayed. The delay will also allow administration to use new data from the current outdoor rink season on opening and usage, which is relevant to the outdoor rink options that are being presented. City Council spent a few moments on Monday night talking about parking. Councillor Brian Hamilton had a notice of motion on the agenda Monday night that allows Council to reconsider a decision it has previously made and ratified. On Monday, the notice of motion was presented to change the hours of paid parking to 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Before that, the hours of paid parking in Thunder Bay were 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday. The change, as presented, was approved. This will change the hours of enforcement back to what it previously was, with the exception of continuing to charge for parking on Saturdays. In the notice of motion, Hamilton wrote that a strategy is needed to steer the culture of free parking into the parking financial plan. Changes to the hours of enforcement and parking rates were presented earlier in the year and approved to make the parking system more financially self-sufficient. A phased approach to the parking changes are necessary, Hamilton wrote in a memo to Council. Now, as of today, hours of paid parking are from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday on street and at service lots throughout Thunder Bay. The Supervisor of Municipal Parking Services, Jonathan Paske, will join me in just a few minutes here on the program. City Council ratified the 2025 capital budget on Monday night. Council received the budget as a first report in late November, which is months earlier than normal. The reason for the early approval is to secure better dates for construction work and potentially lower bids. The capital budget is at $161.8 million this year. That is a 57% growth compared to the previous year, amounting to $58.5 million. The increase is because of several major provincial and federal investments, including spending on the Housing Accelerator Fund, the Housing Enabling Water System Fund projects, Building Faster Fund, the Indoor Turf Facility, and the proposed temporary village. These projects combined have a value of $49 million. The capital budget has a third of its spending funded from grants, about 14% from the Municipal Tax Levy, about a quarter from Debentures, and another third from reserve funds. In August of this year, Council approved a recommendation for a tax increase of no more than 3.8% before growth for both operating and capital budgets. Council also approved a strategy where spending on new capital would be no more than 20% of the capital budget, with the remainder going to maintaining existing assets. This year, budget spending is broken down into a service-based budget instead of a corporate format. The idea is to make it easier to understand where the city is spending the capital budget and how infrastructure and services are impacted by that spending. The report notes that while the tax-based contribution to the capital budget will go up by 3.8%, there is also additional money going in with the retirement of the Homes for the Aged debenture. Instead of decreasing the tax rate, this money will now get directed to the capital budget and General Capital Reserve Fund. The report says this is a prudent and temporary measure to increase the amount of infrastructure spending without varying tax levels. In broad terms, about $14 million will get spent on transportation services, including roads and fleet, bridges, culverts, stormwater, sidewalks, traffic lights, and street lighting. $21 million will be spent on public works projects like fixing roads and installing new sewer and water lines at the same time. About $10 million will be spent on waterworks, with another $13.5 million being spent on wastewater. About $2.1 million is slated for the solid waste and recycling facilities, $7.7 million for parks and open spaces. Fire rescue requires $800,000, and Thunder Bay Police are budgeting for $2.9 million of capital works. One big area of the capital budget is for arenas, stadia, and aquatics. This area has a proposed capital budget of $39.3 million, of which $32 million is the indoor turf facility. This figure is 75% of the project's cost and includes the expected construction costs for 2025. The Thunder Bay Public Library will spend about $1 million on capital projects, and Municipal Parking Services will spend $2.4 million, with just over $12 million being spent at transit. About $11 million will be spent on housing projects, with $5 million going towards the temporary village. The remaining amount will help encourage more housing projects to get built in Thunder Bay. Superior North will spend about $2.2 million on capital projects, and the city will spend about $2.7 million on various corporate capital projects, including a $1.4 million expansion to the Archives building. Looking ahead, the city projects it will decrease its capital spending to about $85 million in 2026. Most of that is because of the indoor turf facility and capital costs for the temporary village being incurred in 2025. And finally, Council approved borrowing more than $13.5 million in debentures on Monday night. The debentures are for capital work, and they're issued for 10 and 20-year periods. And that's a wrap as to what happened at Council this week. For more information on anything that happens at Council, please visit our website, thunderbay.ca/council. There's always lots of discussion around coffee shops and online when changes to parking are made in Thunder Bay. Earlier this year, numerous changes were made to parking right across the city, with changes to rates, hours of enforcement, and also locations with paid parking. Now, at City Council on Monday night, a notice of motion was heard to change one of the newly brought in measures. That's the hours of paid parking, and that proposed to change the hours was approved. Jonathan Paske is the Supervisor of Municipal Parking Services. Jonathan, thanks for coming into the Minute Studio today.
Happy to be here.
So let's go a little bit back in time. Start with why all of these changes were kind of brought to the table, I guess. What was the rationale?
So council directed us to prepare a financial plan to find a way to make parking authority at the time, as we used to be called, self-sufficient. So how can we not have to rely on the tax base going forward into the future and currently? So we don't have to rely on the tax base. The user pay system is what we were going for, and what the financial plan that was prepared earlier this year was meant to do.
And what are some of the things in the financial plan? Like how does it get you from relying on the tax base to not?
Well, as you mentioned just a moment ago, it involved increases to rates and times of enforcement and where paid parking was put. So it was basically to increase revenues, to increase our reserve over the years, so that down the road, when there's a major project or even just regular maintenance, we have that reserve to go to, and we don't have to request it from the tax base.
And this plan, I guess, was accepted by council.
Correct. Yep. They approved the plan back at the beginning of the year.
Okay. So there's been some other changes made to the plan after it was accepted earlier this year. Can you tell me about maybe some of the other changes?
Some of the notable ones was a change from there was a minimum hour payment required. That was changed to 50 cent or 15-minute payment. That was one of the changes. Another one was the introduction of parking permits at the marina. And then in August, during the downtown North Core revitalization construction, we introduced a construction exemption zone. So in that area, because businesses were being affected by the lack of parking and the torn up streets, we offered a 2-hour free parking at metered spaces in some of the areas surrounding that construction work.
And that was then all those yellow hoods that you saw over the meters.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the proposal that was before council last night, that was a notice of motion. It was to change the parking times again. So I guess it was approved. Let's let the cat out of the bag here, I guess. What does that mean for parking services now?
So it'll be a change in our enforcement hours. So we won't have the officers enforcing parking meters. So from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday is paid parking. So there's a 3-hour gap in the evening, or change in the evening from 9 down to 6. There is also 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Was previous times as well. So that has also been removed. So it's just a change in our enforcement officers' hours. And
this is essentially almost going back to where we were before.
Correct. Yes. Prior to that, it was Monday to Friday, 9 to 6. So it's back to that time. Now there is still the addition of Saturday, and of course paid parking down at the marina.
Okay. So obviously there's going to be some impact because you're not weighing tickets, and people don't have to pay the meters for those couple extra hours. Any idea as to what the impact is going to be?
We don't know that. All these changes came into effect in June. But we weren't enforcing them until mid-August. So we have very limited data at this point to look at. Basically, about September, October, November is kind of the most recent information we have. So we don't have a full picture. So we don't know what the impact is going to be. We know it will be. It'll lessen our proposed revenues, which will likely lessen our reserve funds, year to year. So we don't have an actual figure, but we can say that much.
And I know I'm kind of asking you to crystal ball here, but if you look at projects that you maybe have on the go, or things that you wanted to do, you mentioned reserve funds. Anything that you that comes to the top of mind, saying maybe we can't do that now, or maybe we're going to need some additional funding for projects or other works?
Again, hard to say, but likely not. What'll probably change is our amount that we borrow. Municipal Parking Services takes loans to do our capital work, and then we pay those loans back over time. That just might change the percent that we borrow versus the percent we use out of our reserve funds. So it might just be a source of where that money comes from, but likely shouldn't impact the actual work that we plan to do.
And most of the work, I guess, that you have planned is for parkades.
That's correct. That's the majority of our capital projects. We do, of course, have maintenance of other surface lots and parking equipment, but the largest piece is maintenance of the parkades.
Now, you were at council last night, and wasn't actually a ton of discussion. You weren't there for hours on end, but maybe you can kind of give me a bit of a quick tour as to what happened last night.
Yeah, so Councillor Hamilton brought forward the motion, and my understanding is he wanted to balance the needs of municipal parking services with the needs of businesses, and that was kind of, in my opinion, the sentiment that I heard from other councillors' comments last night. But it was a pretty quick discussion. Everyone seemed to be in agreement with the change in hours. And one Councillor Benz, I believe it was, did bring up the topic of marina paid parking. However, that was called out of order.
Okay, so this was just about the hours last night, not necessarily locations.
That's correct. It was just the change in hours.
Okay, so just to be very clear with everyone, this change that was made last night only impacts the hours of enforcement across the city.
That's correct.
Okay, we're going to change topics here for just a little bit because we had our first snowfall. I was quite excited about it. Hopefully everyone else was as well. Calendar parking is now in effect. Can you explain kind of what it is and how it works?
Sure. So calendar parking is in place to help snow removal crews get down the residential streets by limiting parking to just one side of the road. So cars all on one side allows the plows to freely get down the street and do a good job of clearing. Calendar parking, like is in the name, is based on the calendar date, whether it's an odd or even day. So just watch out for the signs on your street, and it'll either say no parking on an odd day or no parking on an even day. So just make sure you check the date and check the sign and park on the correct side of the road. Calendar parking is in effect every day between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
And that includes weekends as well.
Includes weekends as well. And there's also the overnight priority route restriction. So that's 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. So some streets have that restriction. So just please look for the signage on your street and follow it to make sure the streets can be cleared efficiently.
One thing that you mentioned just a few moments ago is the construction zone parking. And I understand it was mentioned that was changing as well now.
That's right, yes. Now that the downtown Red River Road revitalization project has come to an end for the season, Red River Road is now reopened to traffic, so the construction's over. So we will be removing those yellow hoods from the meters that have them.
Okay, so if it doesn't have the yellow cover, you got to pay.
That's right. If you don't see that yellow cover, you've got to pay the meter.
Okay, and then let's end on a positive note here, I guess, where we have some complimentary parking. Maybe you can explain what's coming up.
That's right. So our holiday parking promotion is coming up. So from December 16th up until January 1st, it's free parking at all city street meters and surface lots and down at the marina. So go out and enjoy your holiday and support local.
Jonathan, I appreciate you coming in today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Jonathan Paske. He is the Supervisor of Municipal Parking Services, and he joined me here today in the Minutes studio. And a big thanks for listening to the Minutes this week. Of course, if you want more information about City Council, agendas, or minutes, visit thunderbay.ca/council. If you want to listen to past episodes or maybe provide some feedback, visit thunderbay.ca/theminutes. You can also find the Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, you can find us on YouTube and on our website as well. That's thunderbay.ca/theminutes. If you want to keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening at City Hall, just hit that subscribe button. I'm Jeff Walters. Thanks for listening this week. We'll chat again next week. Make it a great day.